Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. My name is Andrea Miller. I am your host alongside a dear, dear friend, Tammy Thompson, and we are so excited to bring this podcast to you. So, the Show Me the Way podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. In episode 2, I'm honored to welcome my podcast partner, Tammy Thompson, to the show and to interview one of my most favorite persons and best friends, Amy Fava. We met when her twins and my older son were in first grade and when she drove me to a zoo field trip. From that point on, 10 plus years ago, we've been super close, and I've come to realize everyone needs an Amy in their lives. And Tammy realized we all should be more like Amy. Amy shares what drives her to show unconditional friendship to those she loves and how her children are now even following her lead. She then shares her story of adversity through how she handled a recent job change and how she and her husband are now experiencing a sort of empty nest with 3 kids away at college. I know you'll love hearing the fun banter between 3 friends and also learning how Amy pivoted and the perspective she's gained in the past few months. Let's join in on the chat and allow Amy to show us her way. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. It's episode 2. I'm so excited. So, I'm Andrea Miller. Last week, I got to share my story, and I talked a lot about my family and what we have done and what made me want to put this podcast together. We got so much support. It was so exciting. I'm thrilled to be bringing you episode 2. Today starts what I hope will be our regular format. We're going to do interviews with awesome guests, mainly friends, people that we know to begin with. But then I know as we continue to put these episodes out there, more people are going to have stories to tell. So I'm sure that it's going to keep growing. Today I have her, my podcast partner and dear friend, Tammy Thompson. She's from Florida. She's in Florida, but I have her on. She is going to do all of these episodes with me. So you'll hear her voice from time to time. And I'm really thrilled that she decided to help me out with this and to do this with me.
Hi. Hey,
So
I'm from
glad you're here.
Michigan, but I live in
That's true.
Florida.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Yes. You've only been in Florida a few years. You're originally a Michigander. That's right. So today, Tammy and I have one of my best friends, Amy Fava, with us. She's our guest today, and we're really happy to have her. So welcome, Amy. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
There's a couple of reasons why I really wanted Amy here. Amy, 2 reasons mainly why I invited you. One is because you'd be an awesome first guest. I knew that. You're a good friend. Tammy and I both know Amy. I've known her for quite some time, and we knew that we would be very comfortable having her on episode 2. And reason number 2 is I always say everyone needs an Amy. I really need to make t-shirts that say that. I talk about it all the time. I always say it in front of our friends, and I know that everybody that meets Amy would feel the same way. You are such a light in everybody's lives, and all the people that meet you know this. Every single person that I know that knows you would agree. In fact, sometimes I just drop your name because people just know who you are. You're always there for everybody. I was thinking about, we have a
You're
lot of
making her blush.
I am. Good thing we're not recording a
Exactly.
video on this. So we have a lot of teacher friends. That's how we met. We met through our kids' school when my older son was in first grade. I got to ride in the car with Amy on a field trip. I knew nobody. My son went to kindergarten at a different school, and this was his first experience. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go on this field trip. And the teacher said, would you like to ride with someone? I'm like, well, yeah. She said, okay, you're with Amy. I'd never met Amy before. And let me tell you, you would have thought we were best friends after the ride because we shared our entire lives throughout the whole day. There's so many connections we had just after that one day. And it's been how many years now? I don't know. Our kids are 18 and that was when they were like 7. So it's been quite a few years. We have a lot of teacher friends, and if one of them is struggling, if stressed out, she'll bring them a Diet Coke, like no question asked. Like that's what she'll do.
It's necessary.
It is very necessary. You need the caffeine, and a lot of our teachers always talk about that. Another thing that comes to mind is when I think back, another good friend and I were training for a marathon, and we chose the hottest day in July to
Mhm.
run 20 miles. It was our longest training, and it was the hottest day, and we ran at 2 p.m. because it was like the only time that we could get together. And
Mhm.
Amy put little cold water bottles along the route. She met us and gave us cooling towels.
Oh
Like,
my
that's
gosh.
just the things that she does. She has 3 kids. One's a sophomore in college and then twins that are freshmen in college, and she would do anything for them. If they called right now, she would say, "I gotta go. Like, forget the podcast. My daughter needs me," which I'm hoping I would do that too. Maybe not. I might be like, "No, I gotta finish this
You
first."
gotta grab her leg.
Yes. Um
Fantastic.
she used to have a job where she would go into classrooms and she would go to my son's school and she'd see him and give him candy. She would be there when he needed something. There was a time that I couldn't be available and she just jumped in. So these are the type of things that Amy does without question. It's unconditional friendship. And I am just honored that we have that. So everybody does need an Amy. So immediately I thought you need to be on this. So we do have some questions that I want to ask you that
Everybody needs to
pertain.
be more like Amy, it sounds like.
Yes,
Thanks,
we'll
Tammy.
Yeah.
make sure we'll make a shirt that says that
Yeah.
too. Yes, I love that. So I do have some questions to kind of get us back to show me the way, dealing with adversity, how you pivoted. But I do want to know from you, when I say these types of things, like, where do you think that comes from? Why do you think like that you'll just drop anything to help the people that you love?
Wow. I don't know. It's part of who I am. That's the way that my parents raised me. And my mom was and is the same way. She is always there for her friends. And I saw that growing up. And now that's just how I want to be. And I love that my kids are actually starting to emulate that. Good friend of mine from when we lived out east, her daughter is also a student at Michigan State and was dealing with something. And so I messaged my daughter and I said, "Hey, is there any way you could reach out to this young lady? I won't use her name." And she said, "Of course. What should I do? Maybe she can go to dinner with me. Maybe we should do lunch. Maybe we'll go get ice cream." And I thought, wow, this is my kid and she's learned these things from me. So,
I love that. I think that's a
Amazing. That's amazing.
it is amazing. So yeah, you've definitely made an impact
You're
on
a
me
teacher in
and
the
many people.
classroom and in life.
Love that. Well, thank you for sharing that. And in sharing that, you did give us a little bit of your background. But before we really dive in, tell us more about you. So let's back up. Tell me more about your family and where you've lived and that kind of thing.
okay. I grew up on the southwest side of Michigan, down near the Indiana state line. I'm the oldest of two. I graduated from Michigan State University, got married. We lived in the Kalamazoo Portage area for about 7 years. And then with my husband's job, we moved to the East Coast and lived out in New Jersey for, again, almost 7 years. And I have 3 children. Like you said, my oldest is a daughter and she is a sophomore in college. And then I have boy girl twins, and one is a freshman. He's a swimmer at Saginaw Valley. And then his twin sister is at Michigan State University. Um, I like I said, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend. Um, and for the past 7 years, I worked for a financial institution where I went into schools and taught financial education. And that was what turned out to be what I thought was my dream job. I mean, I had no idea, having had so many jobs in the past. I was a preschool teacher, I worked in a different financial institution, I did retail management. So just a little bit of everything. But the job came about where I saw that these people were bankers and they were going into classrooms and teaching kids some really important financial information to help them get through life. And I absolutely loved it because I love working with kids and I loved being able to use my knowledge of finances to empower these kids to be successful in their lives. And so, like I said, I did that for the last 7 years and it was amazing. Um, and that kind of goes into where my path changed because
Okay, that
I
is a good segue.
Ooh.
Because, yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking everybody has a story. Just like I shared in episode one, as soon as I started talking about my son with people that I would come in contact with, they all said, well, I have a similar story, or I dealt with this with my child, or I did. And not that everything has to be medically a challenge, but when you start sharing a story, things naturally come out. So I know that you've been through a lot in your life. I thought to myself, I don't really know which direction this could go in, but I'm sitting here listening to how your path has changed with work. So, that could be the direction. But everybody has a story that they've dealt with adversity. And so, yeah, share a time in your life, and it could be that or whatever you wanted to focus on, where you thought you had a clear path and you knew this path that you were on, but something changed and you had to adjust.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge change because, like I said, it was my dream job. I loved it. I was working with kids. I worked with an amazing team of coworkers that, again, they're friends because we just worked so well together. We all had the same vision for what we wanted in this job, and there was some changes within the company, and it no longer went along with what I felt was important for me to continue with. So a couple months ago, I left, and that is left me right now in kind of a spot where I don't know which way I'm going. So, like, my path is now just kind of sitting there going, which direction do I go in? Because I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
How
Um,
many of us say that?
Yeah,
So
that's so
you
true. So
You
true.
do kind of say, like right away, it made you think differently. So, like asking you how you initially reacted, you kind of already touched on that. But being where you are right now, how does it make you feel at this point in the game? I believe you made the right decision. Are you comfortable with that? Like, how are you feeling about everything right now?
I was very sad at first because, like I said, it was my dream job. I had just absolutely loved it. But once things started changing and it was no longer that job any longer, it was such a sense of relief when I left. And it was great because I was able to spend the entire summer with my three kids. Granted, they were working full time, all three of them. But when someone was like, "Oh, mom, I need this." "Oh, okay, sure, let's go. Let's, get your stuff ready for college, or let's go have ice cream, or, oh, you need to drive up an hour and a half to your school to pick something up. Sure, I'll take you." So it's been great to be able to do that and help them prepare for college and get them all moved in. And now I'm just stopping to think, okay, now it's my turn. What am
Mhm.
I going to do now? So I want to spend probably the next couple weeks just talking to people, finding out what type of options are out there. What do I want to start doing? Who do I want to be with? Who do I want to be?
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. My path is kind of unclear. So it's just a chance to really start finding out like I said, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Well, I love that. And actually, you're making me think of Tammy because
Yeah.
she is going through a little similar stage right now. In fact, I have a whole podcast that I want to dedicate to her. But Tammy, how's this making you feel? Can you
Oh,
relate?
yeah. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm nodding my head. I'm like, "I know exactly how you feel." Yeah, similarly, recently left a long time career. And yeah, it's like, what do I want to do when I grow up? So we'll talk. We should talk.
Definitely.
Yes, you just said I need to talk to people. Well, you and Tammy need to connect.
That would be great.
So I like this question then going to that as you're continuing to learn, is there a piece of advice you would give to somebody that maybe is dealing with something similar professionally?
Be patient, be open, because there's things out there that you don't know are out there. Um, Communicate with people, talk to people, because that's the only way you're going to find out what other options are out there. like I said, there's things out there that you don't necessarily know about, people you haven't met yet. And once you're open and able to really listen to other people, that's kind of, I think, how you start figuring out your path.
Very good advice. And I don't think many of us think about that as an important thing. Stop and listen. I know that I don't do that as often as I should. So that's good advice for what you've been through. And
Stop
also,
and smell the roses
yes,
Mhm.
and listen to the bees as they buzz around the roses.
there you go. That's a good little addition. So, what valuable lessons do you think you've learned? It sounds like you've already shared some of them, but you've gone through a challenge like this. What type of lessons are maybe going to help you as you continue to navigate life?
I need to make sure that I make myself a priority. Like for the last 20 plus years, I've always put my kids first. And now I need to take a little bit more time for me in order to make sure that I am going to move forward in what I really want to do.
Sounds like you need an Amy.
I need an Amy. Where is my Amy?
You have to be your own Amy. I really love that. That's great. One of the big things that I talked about during the first episode was just perspective. So I really like that perspective. And again, it's not just for a professional change, it's good advice for life in general. And as you're talking, you're also an empty nester kind of too. So
Yes,
lots of
that is
change.
so strange. Walking, in the house, and if I've set something there, it hasn't moved. Um, the house is cleaner. It's so much quieter. The hardest thing, honestly, is going to the grocery store and cooking and laundry, because before, every about 4 days I would do 8 to 10 loads of laundry.
Goodness.
I did laundry a week ago and I did 2 loads. And I looked
Fantastic.
this morning. I know, I looked this morning, I'm like, "Huh, I don't think I need to do laundry for a couple more days." And then actually on the drive here, my son called me, and that's why I was sitting in the driveway for a few minutes. About 2 weeks ago, he had called me and said, "Hey, mom, I totally know how to do laundry, but will you just stay on the phone with me while I get started to make sure that in case the machine's different and I have any questions?" And so I talked to him for like 25 minutes. It was amazing. So then today he called me and he said, Mom, I just got a quick question about laundry. And I said, "Okay, bud, what's up? Can you do blankets in the same load as regular clothes?" You sure can. Especially as a college student, you can put everything in the same load if you want to. So that was great because he was asking about the laundry, and then he was also talking to me about what he's been doing, which is great. And he was telling me I've been studying, and I'm doing all of my homework and turning things in on time. So that was so good to hear.
That's a great story. I love it. Well, Tammy can talk to you about that too because there's only two in her household. So you have a few things to discuss. I love all of that. Like I said, you never know which direction we're going to go. When you start asking somebody, what adversity have you dealt with? It could be something major. It could be health, it could be financial, or it could just be like I had a change in work and I thought I was going to be on this path and I decided to do this instead. Or it could be something really simple, like I thought I was going to go do this today and instead decided to do that. So I don't really know exactly where all these conversations are going to go, but I do know that every story is going to teach Tammy and me and the listeners something. So it certainly gave us some really good perspective and some good things to think about. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that can relate to what you shared, either with the work change and or the empty nest situation. If you could change anything knowing what you know now, would you, or what would you do differently?
um, no, I think the way that my life in general has gone, I'm extremely happy with how everything has turned out. Um, Leaving the job was definitely the best option for me because, like I said, I've gotten to spend time with my kids, and it's given me a lot more time with my parents, um, and maybe come up with some new hobbies. I don't know. I'm okay with that too.
Oh, love that. And I do think Tammy's right. We'll have to have you on a future episode where we can talk about some
Yeah,
other
an
things.
update.
Yes, an update. Maybe I'll have you on when Tammy talks all about her life changes. Thank you so much for being here and for being our very first interviewee. It was great having you, and actually, it was nice to have you sitting. next to me so that we could just kind of bounce thoughts back and forth. I loved that so much. So thank you so much for being here. Tammy, thanks for all of your input. I'm really happy that we're going to continue moving forward with the Show Me the Way podcast, and hopefully all of you learned a few things from Amy today. Anything else you want to add or plug or share?
I am super excited to watch as this unfolds for you because I am so proud of you and this endeavor that you have undertaken. You and Tammy are going to have an amazing time with this, and personally love a podcast. So I'm excited to be able to share your podcast with everyone that I know.
Thank you so much. And I really shouldn't say this after you said such kind things, but go blue.
Ah, as I sit here with my Michigan State mug and
And
my
fingernails.
white
And her fingernails.
fingernails, getting ready for the football game on Saturday.
Wow.
But I still
Ooh.
love you.
I love you too. Thank you for being here. And we look forward to having you on in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Show Me the Way podcast. We truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. We hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little motivation. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.